I interviewed with a number of people, but one of them I really remember because he became a mentor of mine. His name was Mike Walsh, and he was a manager. And at that time, managers were a big deal because they got to eat in the executive dining room. And Mike told me that he hired me because anyone who could explain the process of canning tomatoes the way that I did, he knew that I was right for the job.
I'm Sam McKenna, and you're listening to the Show Me You Know Me show, a deep dive on the impact of personal connection and empathy from the perspective of some of the world's most successful executives. Our guest today is Jacqueline Woods, Chief Marketing Officer at Teradata. Hello, everybody. So my guest today shares a lot of similar passions with me. Nordstrom, Burberry, oh yes, Hermes is in there too. But I promise it's not just retail and brands that we love. We also share a very similar approach to business. Jacqueline Woods is the Chief Marketing Officer at Teradata, where she serves as the company's principal storyteller. Her role encompasses steering all facets of marketing and communications, including strategic planning and execution, advertising, brand management, customer engagement, and many, many other things. She is a busy gal. Prior to joining Teradata, Jacqueline served as the Global Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at NielsenIQ, following an incredible career that's brought her to huge logos such as IBM, General Electric, and Oracle, in case you've ever heard of any of them. But wait until you hear how she got her big break. Hint, it involves tomatoes? Yes, tomatoes. Jacqueline, I think you've had such an exceptional career, and you've worked for some of the most notable brands that we probably all talk about every single day. But I want to talk about how you got your first role, because I think it is one of the most interesting things to me and a really important topic. Tell us about the job fair that kind of started it all.
Well, I went to a job fair in Los Angeles for the Urban League, and I met a woman named Ramel, and she was a representative of what was at that time a company called General Telephone, which is now Verizon. And she talked to me about what I was interested in, and I talked to her, and I obviously had no skills, no real experience. I had worked at a video store in college, and I had done, quote, canning tomato inspection, like literally for 3 summers because it paid really well. But she just liked my story and my confidence. And so she had me come in and interview. And I interviewed with a number of people, but one of them I really remember because he became a mentor of mine. His name was Mike Walsh, and he was a manager. And at that time, managers were a big deal because they got to eat in the executive dining room. And Mike told me that he hired me because anyone who could explain the process of canning tomatoes the way that I did, he knew that I was right for the job.
I think this is where the marketing career starts. How do you describe canning tomatoes and make it sound really interesting and exciting to somebody else? And there we go for the rest of your career.
It all started with tomatoes.
The job fair, I think, too, was for underserved communities specifically, right?
It was targeted to underserved communities, and it was actually targeting probably people who were already professionals. I just took the chance because, quote, I didn't know what I was doing. I had just gotten out of college, and at that time, sending my resume everywhere because that's what you did back then. And quite frankly, you were typing them up and then having them look all pretty on linen paper and all of that, which we don't do anymore. But I had been doing that, and I felt like I wasn't getting enough looks, and going to those job fairs during that time, I think was a really good way for people to get to know each other quickly. It was kind of like speed dating for hire.
We hear so much narrative and rhetoric around the idea of how we need more women, more people of color, in senior positions. And we say, well, that's great. It happens before we even get here, right? Like we really have to think of how we're investing them from a school perspective, from job fairs perspective, that kind of stuff. And we had such an upward movement around DEI issues. And now I feel like we're taking our foot off the gas a little bit on that. Why do you think this is so important? And we need to keep really advocating for this and pushing for this?
No matter what company you are, the constituents, the consumers, the citizens, whatever type of customer you have, I think that it's really important for you to have a representation of the people that you are serving so that you can do the best job of serving those people, no matter who they are and where they are. People tend to stick often within their own networks of people who they know. And if you don't have a good cross representation in your own network, I think then you tend to just continue to hire the people that are in your network and not a cross representation of bigger and broader networks. I think you get your best when you have a diverse set of ideas. And the only way that you can do that is through a group of people who have diverse sets of experiences.
Now, I know you're getting a little sick of the word personalization, but where do you think we're kind of going wrong?
I think where we don't understand personalization is just what you just said, is that it's a buzzword as compared to what are you really doing to have a more intimate and engaged relationship with someone so that they feel that you have empathy towards them, that you feel that they, quote, get you, and whether you happen to be buying something or not, that they actually do care about some of the things that you care about. That is the difference between people who really understand what personalization means. You can do a lot of stuff, obviously, electronically. Those things may help you get closer to the pin, but they're not the pin, and they're not going to get you a hole in one. They just get you to the putting green. For people who play golf, you can be on the putting green and know that it's a long way to the hole. And it's not easy to sink that putt. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of precision. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of intentionality. And I don't think that people are willing to put that time in.
I think that that's exactly right. The people who are always going to be at the head of the class, the top performers, are the ones that are going to do the things that nobody else will do. And it makes me want to ask you about a financial advisor who reached out to you, because I probably, like you, get a dozen asks every single week. I'd love to manage your money. Do you want to talk? And I'm like, you and everybody else. No. So, wow, what an offer. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for offering to manage my money.
What was different about one particular advisor's outreach?
Well, interestingly enough, when this person reached out to me, I actually didn't know them. And I had asked a number of friends about a financial advisor. And, everyone has the person that they like for the reason that they like. And in your head, you're like, well, okay, why do you pick a person? What are they going to do that's going to be different than someone else? You have to ask yourself, what's in it for them too? And the person who reached out to me literally sent me a note on LinkedIn and, said, I like that you've done X, Y, and Z. And it wasn't like one thing. It was a few things. And it looks like you're interested in these things. So they had done enough and knew enough about me that this couldn't have been AI, and pressed on some of the things that I probably did care about. So I was like, sure, I'll talk to you. I'll give it a shot. And it took a long time to get the meeting scheduled just because of my own schedule. The person was patient. So I was like, oh, okay, this person gets me because they know that I have a crazy schedule and they seem unbothered by it, where I know other people would be definitely bothered by that. And once we talked on the phone, he said, let me take you and your husband to lunch. He was just very patient. And this took like a long time. It wasn't like this happened in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I would argue that it was like probably a year before, like, my husband and I are saying, this is the person, this is the firm. And now he's like, a BFF in the sense that, like, I'm texting him and he talks to my husband all the time. And, my husband has his own little thing and he's like, well, my portfolio is doing this. And, you should have him do X and Y for you. Those relationships take time to build. And it goes to what you say, Sam, which is show me, you know me. I think people don't do that, and they don't take the time to build something that's lasting.
I want to maybe shift to even a more favorite story and topic for me, but you shopping at Nordstrom, which is basically my mothership. But tell me about that. How did personalization there work? How does the person you work with or the team you work with there show you they know you? And then where does that pay off in dividends from a revenue perspective for them?
Nordstrom still to this day, I think, has the best customer service of any retail store. Just in terms of the way that they treat their customers, of the way that they think about their customers, and they do, I believe, want to do what's in the best interest of the customer. And I think that's cultural. That is something that's been built in over time. And I say that because clearly, there is risk and fraud, even maybe even more in retail than there is in a bank, of people doing things that cause you to have shrinkage in your inventory and kind of people, buying something someplace else and trying to take it back at a different store. And even when I've seen them engage with people who didn't have all their documentation straight, they have always done it in a way that I think was extremely respectful to the person. I like that that's how they treat people. And for me personally, I tend to shop there quite a bit, and I obviously have a relationship, and I obviously have the points, and I have all the things. And I've got the person who calls me when the shoes go on sale and all the stuff. It's like, hey, this, I know you bought, X brand and it's on sale or it's going on sale. And I know you were looking at this and you might consider that, and sending me pictures and just doing the things that I think make it easy for a person who's busy. And I'm not online looking and shopping, but like if someone sends me a picture of something, then I'm more prone to say, oh, I like that or I don't like it. But they know you well enough that they've kind of gotten your style down and kind of gotten some of the designers that you like, kind of they're familiar. And I just think that familiarity is going to help you grow.
One of my first jobs was at the Container Store. And it was right after college. It was a retail job that I did on the side, but they would let customers walk out with merchandise to see if it would fit in their car. And I was like, what? What if they steal? And they said, if we just operate, right, and think about the majority of the customers, the 97, 98% of people who aren't going to steal, if we think about them and we operate in that mentality, the 1 or 2% that we're going to steal, we're already going to steal. So why not operate and think about what's best for the customer? And I just thought it was such a wild concept and so wonderful to see a brand operate that way. And I think that same way about Nordstrom. Speaking of personalization, I know Teradata is big on this, and I want to understand a little bit about something that you have called the Customer Complaint Analyzer, which sounds like a giant robot to me. Tell me what this is about and how you use it for personalization.
Well, when you think about it, there hasn't been a time that someone has complained. Even the most happy and optimistic people have run into situations where they're like, I'm going to tell somebody about this experience. It did not feel good to me. And so Customer Complaint Analyzer uses AI, but it does a good job of ingestion and analysis of structured and unstructured data to kind of really understand what people are saying about a product or a service. And what I like most about it is not so much, we're going to fix a broken process. Yes, you should be doing that. But for me, it's the opportunity to understand what product opportunities you have for new product and new product development. Because if you are seeing something repeated of something that someone needs, that's usually an indication of something that is needed in a product as compared to someone just complaining about a simple process or they didn't like the way they were treated by someone, which is important to know. Like, right, I used to love the show Undercover Boss. I love that show. You always had like the person who just was like a jerk. And then not that you found out that they were a jerk, but that they just didn't really care about the company or the mission or the thing that they were doing or the thing that they should have been selling. They didn't believe in it. So they should go be somewhere else where they could believe in what they're doing so they could do a great job at it. But for me, Customer Complaint Analyzer is really an opportunity to identify those areas and gaps that you have in a product or a service so that you can can actually retool or build or do something new that is going to distinguish you in the marketplace. So I love it for that.
I think the key to this, and I think where a lot of larger and legacy companies are starting to get eaten up by early stage companies that are more nimble, that are listening to their clients, things like that, is exactly what you were saying. They might get the data and they might understand all the complaints that are coming in or product requests. But the question is, what are you then doing with that data? In my mind, I have a few legacy companies I even think of where the customers, myself included, are saying, this is what we need. This is what you guys are not doing that your competition is. And they're still not catching up. So I love the fact that one, you have this, but two, that you do something. Think about how do we make this actionable?
And there's a lot of information out there. So you can even find out information on your competitors, right? So what if you found out that someone was complaining about something that Bloomingdale's did all the time in your Nordstrom's? You should 100% kind of brag about being the antithesis of that, right? You know, they don't trust you. We do. I mean, there's lots of things that people can learn from information that's out there that can be synthesized to help you be not just empathetic to the people that have to deal with whatever it is that they're dealing with. And the one thing that I hope most companies really think about when it comes to not just personalization, but really the customer experience. When you call a call center and they switch you from person A to person B to person C, and you have to repeat your name, repeat everything that you just told the first person, then you have to now tell the second person, and then you didn't have to tell the third person. That is a experience that is filled with friction. Every time that happens to me in my mind, I'm saying to myself, I want to find the company that does this thing that I don't have to then do what I just did. And Customer Complaint Analyzer absolutely helps with that. That is friction for companies that really work hard on fixing those types of problems. Those are the winners. Those are the ones whose businesses are going to grow. Those are the ones whose sales are going to grow because they will not just have happier customers, but people will tell people about that story 10 times in the same way that you tell the story about it on the opposite way.
Can I make your blood really boil? And then on that third call, it gets disconnected and nobody calls you back. And all that time got wasted. But let me also bridge that quick gap. That's exactly what we do in sales today, right? You put in a form, you get to a BDR who qualifies you, who sends you to another BDR who qualifies you, maybe again, who gets to an AE, and none of the information is translated.
To me, everyone is a potential customer. Even for someone who's already bought something for you and you want to sell the second or third solution, the second or third service, if you are not actively kind of positioning it and really thinking about it and ingesting that information in a way that makes the person, again, show me, you know me, Sam, like we've been talking about, that you have demonstrated that you cared enough about them to be prepared to have the conversation that they feel that they've already had 2 times. That's not a winning combination. And people just have more choices today.
I want to ask you one more question, which is a question we ask all of our guests. And that is, what does it take to get a meeting with you?
I look for people who are authentic in their communication to me. I get a ton of requests on LinkedIn. I still manage my own LinkedIn. I read the stuff on my LinkedIn. The things that interest me are when people are really sincerely asking me questions, or what do you think about that? Or if you ever have time, I know that you're busy. And sometimes I'm going back through my LinkedIn and I didn't remember that someone did something. And then I'm like, oh, I should send this note to someone. And that person's still engaged because they actually do understand that I have a busy schedule. And they come back to me in a response that says, I'm thankful that you, like, I don't care that it was like 3 months later. Just thank you for answering the question. Like, thank you. Like, I get that you're busy and I get that you may not have time. So before I got on a board, there were a couple of these board workshops that people were having. And at the end of one of them, the person professed, please reach out to me with questions. And I was in the middle of interviewing for a board at that time. And immediately after that, because I believed what they said, I thought they were sincere. It wasn't like there was 1,000 people on this call. It might have been maybe like 70. So, and I knew everyone wasn't going to take them up on that offer. I reached out and I said, hey, I'm interviewing for this board that's a nonprofit. And I want to know if I should do that because I do want to be on a for profit board, but I want to know if this experience would be considered good for me to do. Like, I want to know, is it like worth my time to do it? So the person never responded. They didn't respond to me after saying, reach out. So you've set an expectation that you're going to be available and that you're going to be willing to help because that's what you presented. And they popped up in my feed for birthday. And so I sent him a note that I said, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. So he sends me this note that said, thank you. And I sent him back a note that said, just by the way, you never responded to me. And I did get on the board of the nonprofit. And then I also got on the board of a for-profit company. I wish you would have responded.
Did he respond?
No, because I kind of ended it with a thank you. Like I just wanted him to be aware because I wanted him for the next time that he does something like this, I want him to be more thoughtful. Because if you got the birthday message, it meant you got the other one.
Jacqueline, thank you so much. What a treat to get to talk to you. Really appreciate you giving us your time. And thanks for responding to my unprompted LinkedIn request and saying yes and coming with us today.
This was really fun. Thank you.
So for starters, I'm immediately jealous of Jacqueline's relationship with Nordstrom. She also told me that Burberry routinely sends her boxes of clothes to her home and allows her to pick what she wants. Tell me about goal setting for yourself. That's when you know you've made it. But what I learned from Jacqueline is just how important show me you know me can be in all aspects of life. Here's a few of my key takeaways. First, when you're trying to ensure your customers have the best experience, the worst thing you can do is take them for granted, make assumptions, and generalize. At Teradata, Jacqueline and her team look at the back end, the complaints, the gaps, what's not working, just as a means to improve client relationships and actually turn setbacks into opportunities. That's exactly what we should all be doing. If you want Jacqueline's business, you better be doing that too. Sellers that invest time and energy into their clients, showing attention to those unique interests, personal tastes, and passions, are exactly the ones who are making great gains in the market. Okay, time for Sam Spills again. Ready to dive into your Q&A. We've got a two-parter today from a fellow Sam in Wausau, Wisconsin. What strategies do you use being a business leader, mom, and family partner to be active and healthy? And which wellness strategy would you say has the biggest positive impact on your work productivity? This is a great question and something I've actually been reflecting on recently. So one of the things about me is that being active has always been part of my life. It doesn't necessarily mean I've always been a gym rat, but I love being outside. I love hiking. I love doing active things. It's always been part of my life. But when I think about it, the structure of having those workout days has actually been really beneficial just to my mental health in general. So one of those strategies has been that I eat my frog, so to speak, early in the morning. I'm not great at working out at the end of the day where I might be mentally exhausted, but I am great at working out early in the morning. Even though I might grumble a little sometimes getting up at 5:30 or 6 a.m., I try to think about how positive I'm going to feel after that workout, and that helps motivate me. The structure of building that in my day and also communicating with my husband what my workout days are going to be so we know whose responsibility is what early mornings has been really effective. The other thing that I love to do is I eat my frog again early in the week. I try to never miss a Monday. I feel so positive when I've gotten one of the big boulders of my week out of the way at the very, very start of my week. Now, to the second part of your question, which as a reminder was, which wellness strategy would you say has the biggest positive impact on your work productivity? I think everybody defines wellness in different ways, but for me, it's really about helping me keep up with my socialization. I'm very active. I love to talk to people. I'm extroverted. I have lots of friends. And one of the things that sometimes plagues me is I get behind my desk, I work for 10 hours, I get up, and then I don't see anybody but my family for days on end. So I have to remind myself how important that socialization is to my mental well-being and just to my happiness, and make sure that I prioritize time for it during the week, even if it's just one little personal friend date. It really makes a massive impact for me. Oh, and I love this one too. Greg in Atlanta, Georgia asks, I have a list of my top tier clients on LinkedIn. How can I engage with them and stay top of mind? And when would you recommend I finally go in for the pitch? So here's a really great thing that you can do. And I actually have some great content around this about how, in about 13 minutes of prospecting, we landed a deal with the chief revenue officer of a $6 billion company. Here's exactly how you can do that. Take that list of buyers you have and look to see who actively posts content on LinkedIn. Now, first, not everybody does. And second, those who do sometimes only repost company content. So, one thing I would encourage you is create that list and vet it out. Find the people that are actually posting content in the same way that I do. And then go and engage in their comments. And even if they aren't posting content, maybe they're engaging with other people. You can see the other posts that they're talking on. So, go and talk with them on those posts. I would do that twice. Then I would send a connection request. I would say something like, I keep seeing your content come up. Psst, because I'm stalking you. Don't say that part. And I would love to stay in touch. Then engage a few more times, right? Earn the right to that meeting and go in for the kill and ask for that meeting then. Keep these questions coming. I can't wait to see what else is up all of your sleeves. Huge thanks to Jacqueline Woods for joining us today. I'm seriously trying to get Nordstrom to sponsor the show. I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'd once again like to thank Courtney Garcia, our producer of the show, and Paige Tills. And I want to thank our growing audience who continues to support SamSales across all the spaces and places we like to hang. Our theme music is a song called All at Sea by the artist Zediel. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to stay up to date on all events and resources coming from SamSales, our newsletter is a great resource for that as well. You can find links in the show notes on this episode. That is all. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon.